Now, back to the morning roast with Bonte and Shasky.
You know, Pilo's performing at Thrive City tonight, 7 p.m. His album just dropped, Stunner. I was listening to it on the way in. He's got some bangers on there, some absolute bangers. Now I'm like, man, do I go to De La Salle Sarah or do I go to the Pilo concert? That thing's going to be fire. It's going to be litty.
Yeah, Thrive City tonight. I believe it starts at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
That's, that's when the show starts.
Probably really starts at 8.
Yeah.
Stunner Man's going to be out there. Gun and Goes Global. It's going to be a who's who.
This new dude, La Russell's going to be out there.
Oh, my gosh.
I'd never heard of La Russell until...
Are you going?
I think I'm going, yeah. I might go out there tonight.
Damn.
Yeah, see what's up.
Damn, Langford. You made the big time.
I know.
You made the big time.
Well, I also got nothing to do on a Friday night. Yeah.
That's why I was going to a high school football game. Jeff Howe, national NFL writer.
Yes.
Used to cover the Patriots, wrote about Jimmy G's new contract. And I feel him on a couple of instances with this Jimmy G contract, the strategy of getting the surgery to ensure that he was on a contender. Let's bring in Jeff. Good morning, Jeff. I know we were going to catch up with you yesterday. I know you're feeling under the weather, so we'll make it quick here. But we appreciate the time and you powering through on a Friday morning, Jeff. First of all, I've been asking everybody this week because the shock is starting to dissipate with Jimmy Garoppolo being back in red and gold. We talked about him ad nauseum for the last 6 months. Where is he going? When are the Niners cutting him? When are they trading him? Well, he's back. He's back after restructuring his deal, making $6.5 million this season, plus incentives. When you heard the news that he was restructuring his deal to remain a 49er, what was your initial reaction?
I was surprised. I thought it was heading toward a split by way of him getting cut, just because the contract wasn't tradable, and the teams I spoke to around the league were wary of him coming back off of the shoulder surgery. So there wasn't a whole lot of, there was definitely some interest, but it was, conditional type of interest on whether or not they were going to trade for him. And then I heard from teams that were like, hey, you know what, we're not going to trade for him, but as soon as the 49ers cut him, we'll see what we can get him for. And I just thought it was a level-headed approach for both sides. I thought this was the best case scenario, really. And I spoke to one team a couple months ago that said that, if he gets cut, is he realistically going to make more than $7 million anywhere? Probably not. It's probably going to go, closer to, let's say, $5 million. So if Garoppolo's active for every game this season, he's going to make that $7 million. So right there, he's going to maximize his, or, hypothetically maximize his contract value, even if he were to hit the quote-unquote open market at this stage of the calendar. But the 49ers, I thought this was really a solid outcome for them. And I don't look at this as, I think that it's easy to jump to the conclusion that this is a bad sign for Trey Lance. The way I look at it was, this is a roster that has a chance to compete for a championship. And if Trey Lance goes down, or if he does struggle, you've got a backup in Jimmy Garoppolo who can come in, he can win you games, and he can keep you at that championship contention type of level. So having two guys at that position rather than just going all in on Trey Lance and basically, having the potential to get your season wiped off the face of the earth if Lance goes down or, struggles astronomically, they avoid that scenario because you've still got Garoppolo in town for a much more affordable contract.
Jeff, it's actually funny how we go about this through these off seasons because we talk so much about Jimmy Garoppolo through training camp and throughout the summer, and we didn't really hear from Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, we heard from him yesterday, and since you did cover the Patriots for a very long time, still covering the Patriots, I wanted to play this for you from his press conference yesterday because he was asked if this is going to be a weird situation for him, and I want you to take a listen, and I got a follow-up for you after the clip.
It was weird. It was different than any situation I've ever been in. I've been in some weird ones too, so that's saying something. But no, it was. I think things worked out for the best. There was a lot of ups and downs, rocky roads here and there, but I think throughout the whole thing, I'm happy with where I'm at. Happy to be with the Niners. I think the Niners are happy to have me back, and I think things are working out pretty well.
So he hasn't really been through any weird times with the 49ers so far, Jeff. It's been pretty clear cut that he's the starter. But obviously that leaves the Patriots as the only other team that he's bid on. So when he says he's bid in some weird situations before, what went on with him and Tom Brady back in New England? Is that the weird situation that he's talking about?
I think, weird in New England is a relative term. So you couldn't, if Tom Brady farted, it'd be national news out here. So it's, I think, the first thing that comes to mind is 2016 when Garoppolo had to prepare to be the starter after basically a year and a half of the prolonged Deflategate ruling. So he goes into 2016 as the starter, and then he injures the shoulder. There's a will he, won't he play in week 3. They had to bring in Jacoby Brissett off of, no practice reps for basically his entire Patriots opening tenure of 6 months at that point. So that was certainly weird. And then he didn't know if he was going to be able to play in week 4. There was some pressure. There was some frustration. He also injured his calf in 2017 in minicamp, and there was some pressure on the team for him to get out there a little quicker, and that didn't really necessarily work out. And I think that was the season. If the calendar in my brain is working, that was the season that he got traded to San Francisco. And then 2014 when he got drafted, that was the impetus between Brady starting to tell everybody. He first did it at the Kentucky Derby in 2014. Like, I don't know why, or maybe it was shortly after the draft there, some sort of big event, big social event, when Tom Brady's walking around telling people, I don't know why they just drafted this kid. I'm going to play until I'm 45. So It was, and then I guess that was the start, or the end of that season was when Deflategate started and seemed to last a millennium. So it was, again, weird in New England. I said it at the start. It's a relative term because a lot of stuff gets weird over here.
Jeff Howe, national NFL writer, used to cover the Patriots and wrote about Jimmy G's new contract. Jeff, thanks for coming on the Morning Roast. But real quick, before we let you go, was Brady talking about Jimmy G on the shop now that you opened that up about the Kentucky Derby? Because remember that clip went viral last year where he's like, you're going to really pick that MFer over me? Was he really talking about Jimmy Garoppolo?
I don't think it was him. I think I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to get myself in trouble.
Right.
There was some when some of this stuff recently came out about the league discipline against the Dolphins for tampering with Brady. There was some pretty good detective work out here in the Boston media trying to figure out who it was, and I think I remember who they figured out that it was. I'm sure you guys can find it online. I'm not going to say the name in case I screw it up.
Right.
So, but I don't think it was Jimmy.
We've got our crack staff on that right now, and that's good to clear that up. What did you make of Trey Lance? I don't know if you caught Trey Lance yesterday at the podium. I'm super impressed with him. He's 22 years old, but his mentals is right. He's been prepped for this job. I was very impressed with him, and I'm with you. I think the lazy narrative here is that it's an indictment on Trey Lance. I'm with you where it's an indictment on the backup quarterback situation, and you don't want to lose a season like 2018 and 2020 when Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt in week 3 against the Kansas City Chiefs. What are your impressions on Trey Lance so far, and what you think of him in the preseason?
Well, and I think I've said this on your station before. You'd be hard-pressed to find somebody before the 2021 draft who was higher on Trey Lance than me. I thought the world of him, and there's no reason for me to back off of that right now. I mean, his talent's through the roof. Came from a pro-style offense at North Dakota State. He's a winner. He's got the mental makeup that you just alluded to. And I think that this really, it's an awful cliche, but the sky's the limit for this kid. He's got all the physical talent. He's got the mental talent. He's just, when you go into a situation when you've got 2 career starts, or even, for anybody who comes into the league with less than that, of course, you don't know what the guy's going to look like, what the quarterback's going to look like until he's out there and he's doing it every single week and he gets a chance to adjust to what defenses are doing. And then defenses adjust to him, and, you start the game planning stuff mid-season and some injuries take shape. The season kind of goes like a roller coaster or whatever. You never truly know what it's going to look like. You could be as high on a young quarterback prospect as you want to be, but you need to see him go out there and do it. I still think that Trey Lance has franchise quarterback potential. And then you go to that narrative, just another thing too. It's like people are, I think this is a really lazy take in my opinion, saying that, well, this is bad for Trey Lance because he's going to be looking over his shoulder. Look, if you've got a franchise quarterback, he has to be able to withstand any of those types of challenges. The mental challenges, whether it's in the locker room, the meeting room, on the game field, whatever. If an outsider, if a media take says, well, this guy can't handle it, then that wasn't your quarterback to begin with. And I don't believe that to be the case. I think Trey Lance will handle it just fine. I think by all accounts, over the last year, Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo have done really well together. I don't see that changing. Jimmy Garoppolo is willingly going back to the 49ers to be a backup quarterback when he could have played hardball and said, just cut me and I'll go play somewhere else. So that tells me he's fully prepared to be the backup and a mentor for Trey Lance. So again, I don't foresee any issues with that dynamic.
One more here for you, Jeff. Now, we've had this question asked to a bunch of guests, and it's how long of a leash are the 49ers going to give Trey Lance before they think about going to Jimmy Garoppolo? Now, we know that the fans, they're going to be clamoring for Jimmy G if Trey Lance has a bad game in week 1. But what do you think the team is going to do? How long of a leash do you think that they'll give him before they even consider possibly making a change to Jimmy Garoppolo in place of Trey Lance?
I mean, I think you got to give him at least a month, and that's probably a worst case. I mean, like the worst case scenario, and I don't know what the 49ers opening schedule looks like off the top of my head, but like let's say they start off 0-3 and Trey looks awful, just like he can't help them win games. Then you've got to start to make a move because again, this roster is too good to waste the season. And then you kind of figure it out next offseason and turn it over to him from there. Give him the keys solo there and let Garoppolo ride off into the sunset. But again, I think that's a worst case scenario. I think you've got to give yourself, you've got to do right by Lance and the draft evaluation and the coaching to believe that all of these elements are going to come together and it's going to work. But you also have to do right by the other 52 on the roster because again, this team is too talented to say, hey, you know what? We're gonna give this guy 2 to 3 months to try to figure it out. And if you happen to be 5-10 going into the last few weeks of the season, then hey, you know what? Sorry, at least you tried. That's not doing right by anybody. So I would say absolute worst case scenario, 3 to 4 games. But I'd be surprised if it got that bad that early.
Yeah, no doubt about that, Jeff. You're a great get well, man. We appreciate the time today, and it should be a fascinating football season here in the Bay Area with the 49ers. Trey Lance and company starting off in Chicago on 9/11. Should be a lot of fun. Jeff, we'll do it again soon.
Sounds good. Appreciate you guys.
Anytime.
Thanks,
Jeff
Jeff
Howe, national NFL writer, used to cover the Patriots and wrote about Jimmy G's new contract.